Alrighty then, looks like I'm making a video. Okay, so we'll do the usual routine. Pop out the chat. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, live chat. I guess I should put that on there just in case, I suppose. That makes a difference somehow. Why? I don't know why it makes a difference. I really don't know. But anyway, it's a YouTube thing, I guess. So we'll start with a comment, and then I'll just talk about some of this crap and the evidence and how this really shouldn't be complicated and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's a conversation about, scientific evidence. You're basically just talking about the evidence in a trial. And frankly, both sides shouldn't be saying, we have a decisive victory. That shouldn't be what's being stated. I mean, it just shouldn't be that dishonest in terms of this is either, a conviction or not a conviction, or, for some good reason you state there isn't enough evidence to decide, mistrial, something like that. But, anyway, so if you can, I'll have to move that over to there. Okay. Do you think it's possible for you to be friendly with someone who inherently disagrees with you? Well, first I'd ask why I should be. In a lot of cases, disagreements, frankly, about subjects that matter, it matters. The disagreement is about, real stuff that's really important. Lives at stake and all of that kind of stuff. So, frankly, I don't know what my obligation. Why do I have an obligation to be friendly with people who I think are evil or wrong or all of that crap? And then if you want to ask me, should I? It's not about who's disagreeing with me. It's about whether or not they're rude and they're liars and they slander people and they do all kinds of shenanigans and tricks. Why should I be friendly with them? Yeah, that would be really stupid. Okay, with Toady, for instance, so again, not a great example, right? Because me and Toady aren't talking, politics or something. He's obviously not a vegan, so I guess we could argue about some subject like that. He's got kids, I wouldn't do that. I think he does. No, he doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I forget already. I think he said he was having dinner. Well, I can't remember. Anyway, you get along with him because he's polite. Well, that's a good reason, right? I'm polite to people unless they give me a cause not to be. Generally speaking, that's a rule. But more importantly, and you can see it on these comments. I get some comments by people and I say, you're sounding a little bit like a conspiracy nut. You're sounding a little crazy. I try to get them to stop being crazy. So I give them a chance before I declare them loonies. But more importantly than that, because he entertains your nonsense. So you see where you say he entertains your nonsense. I'm not going to accept that. I mean, there's nothing nonsense about the subject. Okay? I mean, the fact is the guy who invented this overtly said your physics is too atheist. He was clearly on a vendetta, or he certainly had an agenda. And that's not good. I kind of don't like religious people telling me what I have to believe for no good reason except they want to praise their God. I don't like people jihading on the science. Okay. And then after that, all you have is a bunch of little propaganda bullshit, little three-card Monty shit. Superficially silly kind of experiments. And that's it. You don't have, it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. You don't have any evidence of this shit. And so, you're calling it nonsense. These are legitimate criticisms to be raised, that you have under-evidenced your theory, that you're stating something is beyond disbelief when it's not even close to beyond disbelief. It's really close to, yes, you should disbelieve. The evidence is so poor. You've had 350 years to provide some physical evidence, and you still haven't. That's pretty disgusting for you to be preaching from that position. And you're calling me the nonsense purveyor? So, and I shouldn't be offended by your rhetoric? Well, I am offended. Fuck you. I hate your guts. Okay, there. Let's see. If he was a lot more critical, he is critical. I don't know what exactly. He's not jumping on. He's not saying, yes, it's, of course you're correct. He's saying, well, where's the experiments? Well, maybe I'll do them if no one else will. So exactly, you know. And why should he be critical? What criticism should he put on me? I'm raising a point about conventional physics being under-evidenced. Why should he be critical of that point of view? Because I'm absolutely 100% true. It's absolutely 100% correct that it's way under-evidenced. Why should he be critical? Yeah, that's right. There's no reason for him to be critical of your ideas. You'd suddenly become a fucktard generator and be heaping out insults like you do with everyone else. So it's not everyone else. It's 5 of you lying pieces of scum who, you know, embrace each other. You dox people, you fuck with their family, you post images of their house, you invade their privacy wherever the fuck you can, and you endorse the behavior. What the fuck? You're talking about low character. How low will you people go? That's the question. All right, and it's clear you don't have a limit. Okay, you just don't care. It's just about you're going to prove something that can't be proven. And that's the simple truth. The reason why there's no evidence is because, frankly, it doesn't work. Your theory doesn't work. All right. Somebody does, I don't know what this is. Do you give talks to classes or PE, question mark, and he posted 7 times or whatever. I mean, what retards. So Iron G has done 3 different experiments now. Well, they're pretty much all the same experiment, frankly. 2 of them with different spring configurations. Yeah, both not ideal. Where the heavier object moves faster. Again, you can say it does, but it doesn't from the video, so, you know. Sorry, not true. And the same thing happened in mindless marbles experiment. Completely different experiments, frankly. I mean, no spring in mindless marbles experiment, no impulse. Okay, but of course you're only willing to accept experiments that agree with your preconceived notions. Again, they're not preconceived. They're pointed out over a 2-year period where I've drawn the lever over and over and over again and explained how. What do you think? Do you have a counter argument? This is how a lever works. Can you explain how it works some other way? And you're not willing to explain how it works some other way. You can't post me a link to a video that explains how it works. So what the fuck? You don't have any physical evidence you can show me. You don't have any theory you can explain to me. And I can show plenty of crap that's really stupid. Okay, I mean, I got some links I saved from today's research. And, you know, some of the shit people say is just so stupid. Okay. You are as dishonest and as delusional as they come. So again, there's no dishonesty here. You know, you people are the ones guilty of the fake claims. And certainly it is delusional for you to claim you have proven something when you haven't produced even a meager amount of physical evidence. All right, I wanted to clear a mistake you made, so he keeps saying this is a mistake. Okay, for space travel, you wouldn't use 1/2 mv squared or mgt. So it's just not true. There's different ways you can calculate, all right, an integral, for example. So I could recognize that if I had a gravitational body and I was going to shoot past it, I could understand that the gravity here is going to probably be 4 times weaker because the length of that line is 4 times longer than the length of this line. And I could just approximate all of that, you know. And I could just draw it even as a picture. And I could just fill it in as an area, okay. And I could measure, okay, what the average amount of gravity is because my velocity is not going to change. So it doesn't really matter. I can just average the gravity to a constant velocity, and I could do the equation really simply without any complex integrals. So it's just a lie that I have to use their formula to figure out the fact that the gravity is always changing. Yeah, it's always changing, but it's changing in kind of a known way where it starts off weak, gets very strong, and then goes weak again. And I'm going to spend a particular amount of time in each one of those gravities because I am arguing it's a constant speed that you're traveling through it. So again, just bullshit. Because you do it some fucktarded way, that's your business. Okay, go ahead. I don't care. But don't tell me there's the basic geometry can't be understood more simply, because it can. and it certainly can be averaged more generally. I don't need to know to the 900th decimal place. Okay, so anyway, this is more just the lies, but whatever this Castro fellow is, blah, 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 blah. So just irrelevant mush. All right, so I guess we will draw and see what happens. I guess we'll check the comments first. Let's see. Where the hell is it? Strange. That's not it either. That can't be it. No. That must be it. Yeah. Hello there. Okay. Well, whatever the holos. Mindless marbles contacted me one time to act all. Act all. So that's all you. Tough. Oh, yeah. I don't even know what that means. The fact that he tried to contact you is kind of funny, but that just shows what these people will do. So we've already known in the past this is what they've done. They tried to ruin, we had a debate was going to take place between me and the Baldy Cats guy, and all these people had to interfere, and so they lied about, I'm a Holocaust denier and something because I don't believe every one of the details they insist I must believe. So if I don't believe everything happened exactly as they say it happened, then you're a denier and you're, an anti-Semitic and all this other stuff, even though there's not a single shred of evidence that I've ever advocated or argued for any anti-Semitic thing ever. Frankly, because of my name, I'm often thought of as Jewish. So, with people don't meet me in person, they often think, if they know me just by name, that I'm Jewish, and I don't find that a problem. So the whole thing is bullshit. But they did it, okay? Because they can cheat the truth and lie. They can disrupt things, and this is what they'll do. So, let's see. I've never even talked to the guy. Yeah, well, I'm just saying that's part of their tactic. Is they have to interfere wherever they can. They did that heavily with the Despar character, this little vulnerable character that they had to make sure they kept him under control. They don't even seem to agree about the equations. Well, that's the funny one, right? Because you could almost see the ING guy was in his own comment section trying to get kind of well, what are we saying? He's almost like trying to say, are we saying that springs are compressed by momentum, or is it kinetic energy, or what exactly is on it? And nobody in the comment section got the fact that he was asking questions, and instead they just agreed with him, which was funny. He's asking things with a question mark, and they said things like exactly. Like somehow he was making a statement when he was asking direct questions. It is kind of funny. I mean, really, I don't think any of these idiots really are going to argue that, yes, I am trying to debunk conventional physics notion of the obligation to conserve momentum. But, I mean, that's clearly what they are arguing for, okay? If the lever doesn't produce twice the velocity, then you have to explain where'd all the energy go. And they can't do that. So, yeah, they are in kind of a difficult position. Because they aren't debunking me, they're debunking conventional physics. Real physicists will tell you, twice the mass, half the velocity. They get that part. All right. Agree about the equations or what is going on in the Ryan Gosling videos from their perspective. Yeah, unfortunately, like I say, his experiment is a little just too sloppy, right? We really just don't know enough about what he's got right and wrong there. Frankly, in terms of how good the bearings are and whether it really does have the weights right. I mean, he's changing them, and I don't know whether changing them from right to wrong or from wrong to right. Who knows? The comments are all over the place. Yeah, it is. They're not very useful, that's for sure, because they'll commit to nothing. And the Brozo will. He says not. He types a bunch of a litany of junk comments about what a horrible person I am, and there's just no physics argument to be had beyond him declaring his experiments come up with perfect answers when it's clear they don't come up with perfect answers. So frankly, he's claiming he has a new version of the simple experiment where you just flip the lever and have the half mass twice the distance. And he's claiming he can make that come out 1.4, which is a violation of conservation of momentum again. So it's just, you know, the irony of it. But we'll see. Alright, let's see. The object skidding in Brozo's video doesn't remotely explain the discrepancy either. These issues are ignored. Well, he does claim that the skidding is easier than rolling. So you lose more to rolling friction. Now, I was just trying to state that, you know, if you just imagine how little energy there is in the roll of a cue ball when it's only making like 3 revolutions, you know. I mean, it's not like it's spinning at a high speed. It's not a 5,000 rotations per second, you know, RPM hard disk or something. There's not much energy in the just rolling this tiny bit of angular momentum. So there's not much downward force on here. And you can know this with billiard balls just because you can sort of change billiard balls, whether they have backspin or forward spin, you know, by the way you hit the ball. And what you're doing is creating excessive spin. You're not creating a natural rolling spin. You're creating more spin or backspin. And the fact is it does appear in his experiment that he's not hitting them in the center of mass. He's hitting them a little low. So you could understand that he might have been causing a little bit of backspin in the higher velocity ball. So it actually might have been losing more energy because he was imposing a backspin that was actually slowing the object down that was skidding. It was skidding because he had put backspin on the lighter object. Sorry, that's a reference. Only the people who've actually watched that little clip will not understand, but whatever. We'll have to assume that you do have that context because, you know, re-explaining everything in every video would be just so tedious. Alright, so I'll do a little drawing and such. Yeah, we'll just make the comments go away until I need them. Yeah, I'll check in now and then. Alright, so one of the experiments, you know, that's started this whole thing was the physics girl experiment. So that's another one. Brozo keeps talking about how a girl did this great physics, and that's my problem because the girl did it. And I mean, it's a whole bizarre theory he has. And it's just so stupid. I mean, it's obviously really dumb in my opinion. And I'm frankly disappointed, you know, that a lot of dumb physics has women involved in it, frankly. I mean, LIGO's covered with them. You know, and it's all, to me, it's pretty bad physics, frankly. So, I mean, that's discouraging. Alright, so, so this really simple experiment. Alright, so you have a 5 mass, okay, going 10 velocity, and you roll it. And all you do is you add another 5 mass to it. Okay, so while it's rolling, you drop another 5 mass onto it. So you end up with a 10 mass, okay, going 5 velocity. So it comes out a little bit slower than 5. So you have to understand, just it's a little bit less than, okay, half the velocity. Now, and the fact is by the kinetic energy formula, you would go from 250. Well, let's just use the round numbers. We don't really have to be exact. So you go from 200 joules, for example, to 100 joules. Okay, that's what KE says. KE says, all right, you lose half the energy. Momentum, MV says, no problem, 100, 100. All right, so momentum is understandable in the sense, okay, it's 97. Okay, it's not 100, but really close. And because you're really trying to do it, right? You're trying to do it. You're trying to add the weight with as minimum interruption as possible. So you put it down very close to the where it's rolling by, and you just let it go. Very little disruption. And so this experiment has been done, maybe there's 200 videos on YouTube. And it always comes out the same way. They use ticker tapes, use different kinds of ways of measuring the speed. But the idea is basically, this is the Professor Lewin statement, okay? Twice the mass, half the velocity. Not complicated. So it's a confirmed fact that it does exactly happen. And so you have to ask yourself, isn't it bizarrely coincidental that all of the kinetic energy lost, okay, just happens to be the only energy lost? Okay, besides the little 3% here, the tiny 3% or 2%. All the kinetic energy, it's all kinetic energy that's lost. No, substantial momentum. And they say it makes heat, and it makes sound, and it makes sparks, and it makes deformation. And that's where they say the energy went, was to all these things. But it did all those things, right? Can you imagine something making sound but not using any momentum? Can you imagine a bowling pin hitting the bowling pin without hitting the bowling pin? I mean, it just makes the bowling pin move, but it doesn't lose any energy. I mean, is it realistic to think that a bowling ball could crash into a bowling pin? Okay. Whoa. It's not even close. Whoa. Way off. Okay, sorry about that. That was almost rude. Still not great, but it's better. So bowling ball hits bowling pin. Okay, do you think it's possible that the bowling ball could have the same momentum after it hits the pin? I mean, come on. That's not possible. It has to lose momentum and the pin gains momentum. Can't happen any other way. But that's basically what they're saying here. Somehow we didn't lose any of the momentum. Almost got 100% back. Okay. But somehow we made a ton of heat and a ton of sound and a ton of heat. We distorted bent the track, we bent the car, we did all kinds of crap. But we didn't use any momentum to do it. I mean, how can that make any sense? It's just a coincidence that it just happens to be all of this extra, the extra 100, is exactly the stuff we lost. That's what we lost. It just happens to be just the KE. All of it. And we lost all of it. We didn't even get to save 5% of it. We couldn't even get this cart to go just a little bit faster with the extra KE. The extra KE just couldn't show up at all. I mean, come on. I mean, this is one of the arguments that for me personally, even if something else looks a little bit, wow, that's really weird, it gives you a little glimmer of doubt. Every time you think of this experiment, the doubt is gone. I mean, there's no possibility that this fake KE could mean anything. This is clearly just a momentum exchange. There's nothing else going on here. And if we could do this experiment with a Newton's cradle or with other objects, it would just make it so much clearer that there's nothing mysterious here. No, it's just momentum. There's nothing else. There's no KE. There's no special extra energy. Yeah, it's just decisive from my perspective. So I'm supposed to believe it's just a coincidence that all the kinetic energy went to heat and deformation and all that kind of crap, and none of the momentum was used for any of that. Or that you could even believe that you could make heat, or you could make sound, or you could make anything happen. You could make the movement without using momentum. You can't make deformation. You can't crush a car without using the momentum. So I actually saw that in a video. Maybe I'll play that video, because I think it was the last one on my list. So I should be able to find it. Elton James. I don't know what you're crying about. People. Anyway, I don't understand people at all. Don't get you people. Alright, so we'll put this Firefox back on. We'll move it over here. And we'll see if I can find a magic video. The videos. Let's see. What the hell is this? Science and technology. Oh, that's the Wolfram thing, so I'll just copy over that. I don't need that, I don't think. So I believe this link should be correct. Paste and go. Commercials, of course, which are really quite annoying. Oh, this is the Professor Lewin one. Damn, that's not what I wanted. Alright, well, we'll play this one anyway since we're here. I mean, ads on an MIT college professor should be probably above all of this crap on his videos. I mean, frankly, it's really tacky. Really tacky.
The increase is 1/2 m.
Alright, I think I wanted the bit right before this where he's basically doing the rocket fuel thing, and it's just quite funny. Okay, yeah, that's what it is.
The increase in kinetic energy is a given. That is not true. It's the change in velocity that is a given. Let's suppose that V final minus V orbit around.
Go back a little further.
Teeth were made to indulge.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
The new Colgate Optic White Comfort Fit LED is designed
watch somebody
around the
fucking
Earth.
eating.
Then, of course,
God damn. Yuck. Gross.
even though there is gravity, gravity is now not doing any work. And therefore, if you fire this rocket for 100 seconds, the change in velocity, the tangential change, will also be 2,300 meters per second. You cannot say now there is gravity, and therefore we have to take the...
Well, I guess I wanted it for this GT part, right? That it's, basically they're saying it's, they're pointing out that it's the force of gravity times how long you're exposed to the gravity. So the burn of the rocket is the same as basically saying that's when you're opposing gravity is when your rocket's burning. Gravity's winning when your rocket isn't burning. So you're losing energy when the rocket isn't burning, but the force that you need to keep moving or to gain any velocity has to overcome the GT first. You can't make any forward progress till you've at least produced enough energy to go at least the GT part. Okay, but that really wasn't the part I wanted from this video. It's probably back here somewhere, unfortunately, where he's basically pointing out as depending on when you use your fuel, when you're going 500 miles an hour, your fuel gains more energy. So the potential energy of your fuel increases the faster you're going, which is the flaw in the kinetic energy formula making itself obvious because of the squared velocity function. Because you're going to gain your velocity at a higher rate, you're going to go from 60 to 90, you're going to gain more from the fuel than when you went from 0 to 30, just because of the squared function. All right. So that's kind of silly. To say that the gasoline has more octane merely because I'm using it after I'm already going 60 miles an hour is just silly, frankly. Nobody should really believe that's true. All right, so maybe it's this video. It's probably another Professor Lewin clip. We'll see. Annoying. Seems way too long. This is a 40-minute video, so I believe this is not going to be useful either. Yeah, it's still not way in here, so I'll find a different clip to get to. Let's see if this one's the right video. I don't remember. I thought I'd saved them in a better order, but apparently I didn't. So, yeah, this wasn't the guy doing the stupid video. And this was a stupid video, but this didn't have the really stupid part in it. Damn. Apparently I have lost the clip to the really stupid video. Fuck. Maybe it's here. Okay, so there wasn't much in this. It was just really simple. But it's just pointing out what I was pointing out, right? I mean, it's just taking the weights that you put on one side and they balance the weight on the other side, and it oscillates and it moves, and it's just the same rules that I've been pointing out about how levers work. So it's absolutely, there's nothing there to tell you anything. And it's pretty simplistic.
From a pole that is stuck in this.
Yeah, so it's a really crude lever, frankly. Yeah, it's not very well made. So anyway, I don't know exactly why I bothered saving it, because it really isn't that informative. Alright, let's try this one. I'm kind of disappointed I don't have the stupid crash one. I guess I could just draw it. But it's so much better to see it. Yeah, this is the high school one. So this is the old, look at that. See, I mean, somebody's got my real name in the comments section. I mean, you can't understand how these people defend this kind of behavior, and it's so disgustingly rude. Why would somebody put my real name in there? I don't publish any science videos under my real name. And you people can't tell somebody that they really shouldn't be doing that. That's rude and obnoxious. You can't figure that out? Okay? It's just, and it's coming from, this isn't a Stephen Bro, you know, some idiot who does use his real name. This is some asshole who has a screen name, who's trying to hide his own identity. And here he is playing with somebody else's. He doesn't even have an icon for his channel. He's hiding so desperately. I mean, what is that? I mean, amazingly disgusting behavior. But the joke is, this video has 20,000 views, and that one comment is the only comment on the video. It's just amazing. Just fucking amazing. So, I mean, again, I don't publish physics videos or my channel or anything else under my real name. And so he puts my real name here and says, was here and has defamed this good video. And I defamed it how? By agreeing with it? By saying this video pretty much proves the case against Professor Lewin's video? Because it absolutely does. Okay, this one actually gets the right answers. So, I mean, just hilarious. It's such a fucked up world. Too stupid a world, really. It's just unacceptable to have to live in a scumhole shitbag piece of crap place like this. Just shouldn't be my obligation. Alright, so I guess I'll have to just explain the other video since I can't find the other video. Damn it. Suppose I could go through my history, but I really don't want to do that. It's not that big. It's a big issue in the sense that these people are doing instruction videos. So they're supposed to be telling people how the world works. And it's just so stupid a mistake. So he's talking about two cars crashing and the exchange of energy. And he's talking about it as if the cars are elastic, in the non-deformation sense, okay? And they clearly aren't. And so he's explaining the car crash as if the cars were behaving like steel balls. And they won't do that. That's not how they're going to behave, right? And it's clear in his own drawing. So he has an animation. And he shows the two cars, two equal cars, by the way. Okay, same mass cars. All right, and they come crashing into each other. Okay, so it's the same mass. Okay, X mass and X mass, and they're going the same velocity. Okay, and so he starts to talk like it's going to be a Newton's cradle, and the fact is, though, it won't be, because the cars are going to crush. And so he shows in the video the crushed cars, and then explains how half the energy will move the car this way, and this one will have this velocity. So he talks about their velocities leaving, when clearly they won't have that velocity, because all of this work was done, okay, by their momentum. So again, it's this idea that he thinks the kinetic energy somehow, I don't know, in this case, I don't know what he could be thinking. You can't conserve the momentum because you used a whole bunch of it to crush the fuck out of the cars. So you can't possibly get the result. And it's just, like I said, this is a guy providing educational videos, okay? They're not theory defense videos. They're supposed to be educating on things they actually know to be true. And he can't even explain something this simple right. That you can't have deformation and then say it's an elastic collision. That's stupid. All right. So I would have liked to have shown you that, but it just didn't work out. So I'm already exhausted. Okay, so I don't know if we should bother with any of these comments on any of these stupid videos. Brozo's promised, like I said, he has some sort of video that demonstrates something, but we know we're not, I'm pretty confident we're never going to see that video, but we'll see. Let's put this on. Stinking lousy commercials. I mean, this guy's got, whatever, 100 views on the videos and he's got ads on them. Why are you people doing this? I mean, really, what do you think is why are you putting ads on these videos? 40 cents? I mean, realistically, how much you make? 40 cents? Fuck. Oh, look at this. The Spar Lab. So even after all of the videos I've made pointing out how this experiment's pretty much a steaming pile of shit, he sits there and points, thanks for doing these experiments. Whatever. You too, mate. Hope to see some more. So let's see what he says in reply to that. Oh yes, more is coming. Yeah, okay, so we know he has an agenda, right? He keeps lying about how he's just a bystander. Yeah, bullshit. First, I'm going to try to do some kinetic energy experiments myself. So he'll probably do another bizarre experiment. Let's see. I'm going to velocity versus to mass going one velocity, colliding at different objects. Why don't you bang him into a cracker? I guess you see, in spite of what you said in your video, that it was kind of weird that they used a cracker, you're going to do that, right? He's such a fucking little weasel. And see if the impact is the same or not. and how, so again, you're going to do more noise experiments. Well, why don't you shape them and bang them into clay? Why don't you see if pointier arrows go into things easier than dull arrows? Oh, what a fucking piece of work. Okay. Also, I am connected. Also, I contacted the scientific department of my town, and they are referring me to a professor. Well, I'm sure he'll be impressed with your let's crash things into a cracker experiment. I will try to make an appointment, and hopefully we can do some serious experiments with professional equipment. Yeah, you'll do seriously stupid experiments. So instead of doing duplicate Brozo's billiard ball experiments, make a simple lever with a constant force applied from a spring or some device, or just dropping something onto the lever, and see how fast things leave. Yeah, why don't you do that experiment, fuckhead? Oh, God, these people are just such scum. Let's see. I think your experiment is accurate. I don't know what that emoticon is. I don't know why you would think so, but okay. Let's see. You asked me what I think caused the lighter mass at twice the distance to have more resistance. So there's no evidence that it had more resistance, okay? I mean, frankly, in the sense of, except for more friction. All right, so use the right word. The only place it could lose energy is through friction. So, I mean, if you're going to say you're not going to conserve the momentum, you have to explain where it went, right? So if you believe that you can't violate conservation of momentum, then you have to say that the energy went somewhere, and the only place it can go is friction in the bearing. So what do you think is the cause of the lighter mass having the same inertia? So there's no inertia. So whatever that even, again, and it obviously doesn't have the same inertia. I mean, having more inertia, sorry. Okay, the mass having more inertia. There's no inertia. There's no such concept. Just as friction is not a force. Friction is you losing your energy to a sink. Friction is a sink. It absorbs energy. Okay, most common forms of friction. Obviously, I could take a file and I could, scrape my skin off with the file. Obviously, I'm the friction to the file's function in that case. The file will give me its energy. But it always is just a case of one thing giving energy to another thing. There's no such thing as a force of friction. God, you people are really dumb. Anyway, the resistance to change of motion, Newton's first, is greater the faster you attempt to accelerate it. So this is what they say, that somewhere in Newton's law that Newton said the force is greater. When, no, he said everything does exactly what it keeps doing until you apply a force. So until you apply a force, nothing changes. And then in the second law, he basically said, and the force is equal to momentum. So you want something to go twice as fast? Use twice as much force. So Newton clearly was saying, all right, that if you want to change something's motion, you have to change it with a force. You have to apply energy. It won't change for free. But he said nothing about it gets harder to change. So that's just such a lie. The resistance to change of motion is greater the faster you attempt to accelerate it. Obviously, you need more energy to go faster. But there's no greater resistance to accelerating the faster you're going. Which you are doing as it... Alright, accelerate it, which you are doing as it's at a greater radius. It's only the twice as thing. It's twice as light, and you're only going twice as fast. Completely even exchange. You've exchanged a velocity component for a weight component. You've made a completely even exchange. Completely conserving the momentum. So you have no excuse for the uneven exchange. You have to explain what happened to the momentum. Oh man, these people are so stupid. That is true for linear momentum, but not for angular momentum. It's all the same. Momentum is momentum. It's just about masses moving velocities, and if you think it changes because it's circular, then you're not getting it. Okay, there's no difference. You either are going faster or you're not going faster. If you're going faster, then you need more energy. You will use more energy. The acceleration and weight of the mass alone can't result in the smaller mass having more inertia. Yes? That's not a question. That's not anything. The acceleration and weight of the mass alone can't result in the smaller mass having more inertia. Okay. Yes. Period. The smaller mass has to travel a greater distance. Twice the distance. Let's understand. Okay. It's explicitly declared. It has to be twice the distance, but it has half the mass. Yes, exactly corresponding to the twice the distance. So, yes, you've made it exactly the same. You've taken a 1 mass and given it a 2 velocity, or you could have a 2 mass and a 1 velocity. Yes, but it has to be explicitly in those relationships. You have to conserve the momentum. Thus, the smaller inertia. So I don't know what he's talking about. What's the smaller inertia? Where does inertia have anything to do with this? What is inertia? There is no extra resistance to movement. It doesn't have any difference. The 2 mass resist movement just as much as the 1 mass resists movement. They're going to have the same total momentum. It's going to require the same force. It requires the same force to move the half mass twice the speed as it requires to move the 2 mass 1 speed. Fuck. I mean, you people are just impossible. What causes the lighter object to have more inertia when moving it from a distance? I don't even know what you're doing, moving it from a distance. What does that even mean? But yes, how does the lighter thing have more inertia? It just doesn't make any sense. How does it do that? Why does the lighter thing require more energy when all you're doing is giving it the same momentum? How can inertia be something other than momentum? Alright, so we already did this, moron. Good job. What excuse is next, I wonder? LOL. So I don't know if there's any new comments there. We'll look. I don't remember DD comment. So remember these junk return statements? Yeah, so that's all crap. See if Brozo has any new crap to tell us when he's doing his great experiment that he's already demonstrated works. Yeah, this is the funny part. So here Ian Gosling is saying, okay, thanks, John. So to be clear, what is conserved and what is different in my lever demo? KE momentum or angular momentum? Question mark. So he's asking the question, what are you talking about? And it responds exactly to the question. I mean, oh God, it's just so stupid. They don't even pay attention to each other's comments. They're so disconnected. There should supposed to be 35 comments here. I don't see any new comments. Let's see. This is old stuff. A day ago. I don't know if... Let's see. And wonders where all the missing momentum from the spring has disappeared to in the half-mass lever and needs accounting for. Yes, I'm just saying he's obviously arguing that somehow that the half-mass weight further out won't go as fast as it's supposed to. It's supposed to go twice as fast. He's saying it's going substantially slower. Not a little bit slower, substantially slower than twice the speed. And that would be a destruction of conservation of momentum. That's my accusation to you. All right? And it's clear it is. All right. That outcome is a destruction of momentum. So you have to explain where did it go. That bit really did make me burst out laughing. So again, no accounting for your sense of humor, I guess. It reminds me of the cat looking behind a mirror for the other cat, LOL. Yes, he really is that committed to his fundamental belief. So it's clearly just a momentum argument. I'm just saying, okay, fine. You're saying that's the way it works. I'm saying that's clearly a violation of conservation of momentum. So just explain. The only way it can't be is you explain where the momentum went. So you explain that the bearing got really hot. Something happened to the energy that it didn't go into the object. So you just have to explain where did the energy go. You have to explain where the momentum went. Let's see. Like someone who cannot even begin to imagine fairies don't exist. So I guess it's the other way around here, kind of obviously, right? I'm the one arguing that your fairy, kinetic energy, your little unicorn magic energy has no existence. That you can't show a single experiment where it does any work. Not a single one. Yeah. All right. Immature doesn't begin to describe him. And then I can show lots of experiments where you destroy all of the kinetic energy, and yet there's no evidence you destroyed anything. There's no evidence of the town blowing up because I added 5 tons to the train. Even though I lost half the energy of the train, a substantial amount of energy. Just think of the train. Just think of a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour, or a 5-ton train going 5 miles an hour. How many buildings that could knock down? All of that energy was lost to sounds or something. When I dropped an extra 5 tons on it. It's a preposterous theory. Funny thing is, though, he puts that in capital. He only discovered his belief 2 years ago. I don't know what that even means. After at least a decade of pontificating, he and he alone had figured out how the universe worked. I don't know. So you think the subjects like charge, the 2-slit experiment, you think they really have anything to do with this kinetic energy crap? That you can't talk about gravity without talking about this silly formula? Yeah, I think you can. All right. So, I mean, this is, it's like I said, his whole comment is just all this wasted time. He doesn't make a physics argument. So it's just absolute time burned listening to somebody fart. So I will discontinue that function. Yeah. So let's see if he has done any, whether the Brozo has posted his new evidence. No. Okay, so yeah, how long will we have to wait? I wonder. How long will we have to wait for the Brozo to produce his evidence, his redo of the experiment that showed that momentum is conserved. So he did an experiment that showed momentum is conserved. The half mass, twice the distance, does in fact move twice as fast. And so now he has to prove his own experiment wrong. And so now he's going to redo it and try to destroy the energy. So that, like I said, it ought to be entertaining to see what he comes up with to do that. All right. So LOL. Okay, so he did emoticon and LOL. Thank you. It's brilliant contribution so far. That's a great thank you. I would have never thought of that argument. The argument from LOL. Yeah, damn it. Gotta keep track of all of those really good ones. These people don't have integrity at all. Yes, that is the obvious takeaway conclusion, is that it is funny, right? That there's absolutely you can't buy a reasonable defense of kinetic energy, right? I've offered $3,000. I've offered more to some people, the Thunderfoots and such, and no takers. I can't buy them to debunk me. I can't persuade them to do it for what I think is really substantial money, frankly, for the little bit of work it should be to debunk me, to show me all the great evidence. How much work should that be? I mean, it's a fundamental theory of physics. It founds everything they do in particle physics. They really should be able to prove it pretty decisively, right? What should be the problem? Why is there a problem? But you can't buy that good argument, and so all you got is these trolley arguments where they invade your, personal life, and start, start exposing your family members to harassment. That's all they weak asses got. Okay, YouTube has gotten so foul with these ads. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't care about ads being on videos. I care that these aren't videos that should have ads on them. You know what I mean? There's no reason for these ads. And on some channels, the guy doesn't have to put the ads on the videos. He could just have a donate button. And if he just said once in a while, please throw me a couple of bucks, he'd probably make just as much money. And they don't choose to do that. And that's really bad. I mean, they're more worried about being beggars than they are worried, that they're blighting their philosophy or physics with commercial tacky interruptions, and that should really bug them. I mean, it's just ugly. I don't know what else to say, It's like putting a Pizza Hut sign on the side of the lunar module or something. I mean, it's really tacky. Really tacky. Alright, it really does seem that these people who argue on the side of kinetic energy are gloopy-headed people. I don't know what they are, really. I think it's just a personal thing. They just hate me, and they can't accept the idea that I could be vindicated or validated as a human being in some way. That would be just too awful, okay? And so they can't imagine that world, and they must stop it. Because I don't think they really like conventional physics. I don't think they like, that they don't really have hard evidence for even things as fundamentally accepted as quarks. They don't even have evidence for quarks, for fuck's sake. If you really look at the thing, there's no pictures. There's no real conceptual even data. It's an abstract mathematical thing. I don't think they go for all this dark matter crap. I don't think they go for even entanglement, frankly. I think they got some doubts. But here they are defending the same kind of physics, the same kind of exaggerated, under-evidenced, propaganda for what can only be described as a religion. It's all faith-based. It's not evidence-based. And they should be able to concede it's not evidence-based. I mean, that is just so apparently obvious. Because here I am begging for the evidence and they can't produce it. All right? So they have to concede it is a faith-based science. Does the fact that the Earth orbits the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour have any impact on the momentum or objects on the Earth? Well, 67,000 miles per hour is 1/1,000,000th of the speed of light. I don't know. What percentage of the speed of light is that? I mean, and so you could argue, okay, that that you're talking about like a physical structure, and you're within, you're creating an impact that is theoretically 1,000 times removed from something that could actually disrupt the matter. You know what I mean? It's a tiny velocity relative to the actual forces that are moving the speed of light, that are moving your electrons and protons. So compared to the speed of your electrons and protons, 67,000 miles an hour is, who cares? It's so irrelevant to objects being manipulated at the speed of light. And as I stated before many times, the only universe is the small universe. There is no other universe. There's just the universe that is the small universe. The electrons and protons exist in the real universe. We're an emergent pile of mush, okay, but we're not in that universe in the sense that our functionality is so distant from the actual checkers that are making us. We're the image on the computer screen. We're not the pixels. Okay. I am not very versed in physics, but the attacks I find are very disgusting, like mindless marbles can't be serious. Yeah, well, I think he is seriously emotionally disturbed. I mean, I think that's the truth. So, but that's the only serious part of it, is his emotional problems. I think that's the whole thing with his name he's chosen, Mindless Marbles. I mean, it sounds kind of like a guy who's got some issues. He wants to say smartest man ever, but he knows he can't get away with that. So he's a real, he might be some kind of guy who just, he missed being chess champion because he had a cold, and he sneezed on the chessboard or something. I mean, he's some guy who failed, okay, and he's resentful, and so he's just looking for anything, that isn't failing as he failed, to attack, so he can, lift himself up. Like, see, they all fail, or some kind of, he can make some excuse for why he fucked up, how he squandered his neural capacity. He wasted it, whatever, trying to steal candy from babies. I'm not very versed. Oh, we did that. Okay. Yeah. We'll wait for a new comment and then I'll read it. But there's just so many ways where you can say there's just no way it can be as they're saying. I mean, you want to say there's some kind of special thing that happens when things go fast, like, well, that's sort of what I did want to explain, so I guess I should do some of that actually in this video. So maybe I will do some more lecturing. Because this really comes down to the fact that no physicist explains to you from the bottom up energy. They just don't do it. They don't explain it as, well, what actually does happen when the Newton's cradle takes place. So say I take a mass that's only a half mass and I crash it into a heavier object. Why doesn't it exchange all the energy? And so you sort of have to think about it a little bit, and you think about what's really happening on the atomic level and the electrons being pushed, and you can sort of understand after a little bit of thinking that what happens when you try to push too fast into something. It's not just that you're deforming, it's that the energy starts going in all kinds of wrong directions. And one of the wrong directions is right back in your face. The energy starts reflecting back at you. Okay, so it starts, your own energy that you put in starts coming back at you and is pushing the two things apart. So now how are you going to get your energy into something if the back pressure is pushing you away? So you can sort of understand, or maybe I don't have to draw it. You know, if the energy is you turning on you, right, you're not going to be able to get it in. But if you're moving all the electrons at a speed they can move, all right, they're comfortable moving, so they all go that speed, and you're not trying to push them too fast. So you're just giving them the right amount of speed that they can all move forward. Well, you could sort of understand that one electron moves, it pushes the one ahead of it, then it just fills in the gap here, and then it fills in the gap here, and it fills in the gap. So the energy just moves consistently, right through all the atoms. So then the whole object moves because there's no resistance to its moving. It's not getting clogged by the fact that it's trying to push atoms faster than they can go. And that's a real rule. And the same is true with the small object, right? I mean, the small object can't go any faster than the energy you're putting in, right? You're putting energy in going slow. The little object can only take it like the bowling pin. It can only go as fast as you're giving it. It can't go faster. Now, I could put a spring in, right? And the spring is the little trick, the little part that, see, they shouldn't use the word elastic for hard things and springy things because it's really two different concepts. The springing thing is storing the energy, so it's absorbing it, and now it's reconverting it. And now it can give it to the other object. It's just that it can't store all the energy. It can only store a portion of it. So the fact is you can roll a heavy thing into a small thing, and you can make the small thing, if you use a spring, or it's a little bit elastic on the surface, you can give it a little push. So you're going 15 miles an hour, you hit the little thing will go 15 plus another 3 or 4. So you might get it to go 19. So it leaves with a little extra momentum because of the springiness of the interaction. Now if there's no springiness, then it's just the reflection thing happens and you only get part of the energy into the object. Well, it's not that the reflection thing happens, you just push at the same speed you're going, and it just goes the same speed that you're going. But again, you could argue, why are cow catchers pointed? Okay, they're pointed because the cows don't fly off the cow catcher. It's not spring-loaded. I guess they might have made spring-loaded ones, actually. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know, at some point in my life, I did do some train invest. I remember reading a train book once, decades ago. I think they actually did have cow catchers that had a spring in them. So when the cow hit the catcher, it would create a little bit of loaded energy and then fling the cow, off to the side. Yeah, I think that was true. Well, it's an unknown. I'll leave that. It's not a good example because, yes, I can't say for sure I know how all cow catchers worked. Okay. To me, that shows the character of some of these people. Let's see. Mindless Mono doesn't. Let's see. He doesn't use his own voice. Let's see if any. Yeah, we don't need to just rag on Mindless Marbles here, but whatever. Let's see, Mindless Marbles doesn't even use his own voice. So, yeah, I mean, that's sort of a giveaway, too, Just, what's that all about? To explain the argument, he has to use an auto-generated voice. Yeah, you just wonder, why is he so desperately hiding? To me, that shows the character of some of these people. Not trying to badmouth, but it's pretty blatant. I think that's what it says. Yeah, something like that. Blatant. I think that's what it is. Yeah, sorry. I can't see very well. Yeah, small type. So anyway, so I think I've covered that part. Anyway, well, I really should do it in a video where I just go through the how does the energy get into something. And the real thing you have to think about is the fact that the energy is reflecting, because it can't get into the object, or the energy gets into the object and it moves away at the same speed, and now the ball has less speed. So it's like when the ball hits a bowling pin, the pin leaves with more speed than the ball now has, because all of the momentum of the pin had to come from the ball, and the ball can't give away mass, so it has to give away its velocity. So it looks like the ball flew off the pin flew off the ball, but it's really the ball slowing down that makes it look like the pin's going faster. The pin's not really going faster, the ball's going slower. But I mean, it's clearly just momentum. This kinetic energy thing doesn't show up anywhere. You can't make work out of kinetic energy. It just doesn't work. And then the key experiment that'll prove it all is once I do an experiment where I have the ingoing object be the 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour. So the 10 mass going 5 velocity goes into the experiment, and the 5 mass going 10 velocity pops out. Once we have a clear example of that experiment, which a lever does all the time, then I don't see how there can be any more argument, because clearly that would be free energy, and they'd have to accept the existence. So the existing Brozo experiment, where he uses a lever with a spring and he shoots the billiard ball, as it is right now, he's proven free energy. So as that experiment stands, if he's going to accept the kinetic energy as real, he just made free energy in that experiment. And so now he has to, in some way, make that experiment go away, okay, by redoing it in some way where he makes all the momentum go away. Because, as I pointed out, that's what's so illogical. If you conserve momentum every single time you move energy from a big thing going slow into a light thing going fast, you gain free energy. And every time you do the opposite of take energy from a small thing and absorb it into a big thing, you would be losing tons and tons and tons of energy. So they'll show you lots of experiments going one way because they're easy to do, and they'll show you no experiments doing it the other way because they're not as easy. It just happens to be easier to do the lose the energy experiment than to do the gain the energy experiment. Just bad luck that it just happens to be easier to make slow things give their energy to small things than it is to make small things give their energy to big things. I think I said that right. It's easier. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. It's easier to do the small thing to big thing than it is to do the big thing, getting all that big thing energy into the small thing, because somehow you have to convert the velocity. And that's the tricky part, is creating the faster velocity. It's easy to create a slow velocity, right? It's easier to reduce a velocity is easy. Increasing a velocity is complicated, and the same complication exists in the atomic world. It's harder to make a gamma ray than it is to make an infrared photon. And such. Let's see, what else? I guess I could go to some more fucktarted videos, but I don't know if I really want to do that. Yeah, there really weren't any good ones. I mean, I just saved little pieces here and there. Somebody said something that was a little bit on the subject, but I'm searching through hundreds of videos trying to find one momentum experiment that actually shows the conversion of momentum into kinetic energy. Or actually shows work being done by something that's supposed to have kinetic energy. They just don't have any experiments where they show us extra kinetic energy doing extra work. Alright, I wonder if a argon, I don't know what that is, could be useful for an experiment. Air gun? Yeah, well, the whole idea of air pressure as a vehicle, I mean, it's another lever argument. Air pressure allows you to do the conversion. It can move heavy things, or it can move very fast. So it can give something any velocity you wish to give something. You can give it using pressure. So, yeah, it's a really good medium. You can make a 100-pound object move at 5 miles an hour, and then a 50-pound thing move at 10 miles an hour, and you can do the conversions quite easily with air pressure. It's a very good spring, let's put it that way. It stores energy at any speed, and it gives it back at any speed. So you can compress a cylinder as fast or slow as you like, and you can likewise release it at any speed you'd like, slowly or very fast. And the very fast is very, very fast. Can be very, very fast. So the problem with a standard air gun is it's usually moving very small projectiles at very high speeds, so filming it is a little complicated. So you need to move heavier objects at slower speeds. And you have to also be sure that each time you load the gun, it has the same pressure, which you really can't be too certain of. So it has some flaws as a mechanism. But the idea of a cylinder or the idea of using hydraulics as a means of converting the momentum of one object into the momentum of another object of a different mass is perfectly valid, because it does exactly what levers do. It does the conversion. I mean, I've drawn that a couple of times where you just take a vessel and put one cylinder on one side and tie two cylinders together on the other side. And you basically have the 10-ton train and the 5-ton train. And so you can basically prove that the force you put in with the 5-ton train, you'll get exactly the same momentum out. And obviously the inverse works. And therefore I can use the 10-ton train to essentially make the 5-ton train. And I can prove that kinetic energy can't be right, because that would be free energy. So, I mean, the cylinder is a really great argument. It's just that, I mean, I do have some syringes here, maybe. I don't have very good ones, that's the problem. I have some clear tubing. I have some stuff I could do some fluid stuff with, but, it's just not quite. I just hate buying shit. I really shouldn't have to. Again, I shouldn't have to prove their theory wrong. They should first have to prove it right. They should first do the experiment demonstrating that it doesn't work. That somehow if I push on the two cylinders, okay, at 5 miles an hour, I won't make the one cylinder go 10 miles an hour. They should have to prove that won't happen. So it's kind of annoying that I'm forced to debunk their Jesus. They won't show me the video of him walking on water. Isn't it their obligation to prove their science first? Their science has all the money. They have millions of participants in their religion. Don't you think they should be obligated to do the experiments? I would just think reasonable people would agree that, yes, they have the obligation first. But apparently reasonable people don't agree. They think the propagandists should win. It's just, that's part of what this whole thing is revealing. The fact that I can't buy the counter argument. I can't get somebody to debunk me, even if I pay them. I mean, it's all evidence of, gee, people really do suck. And a lot of people really suck. It's not just a few people that really suck. A lot of people really suck. Like, there's so few honest people that show up on these videos and say, oh yeah, that was a good argument you made. I mean, they really should have a counter argument. I'll wait and see. How often do you get that comment? I was learning about elastic collisions, and they say a large mass hitting a tiny mass can bring the velocity of the tiny mass to twice the velocity of the large mass. Yes, in elastic collisions, but they have to be, they're not elastic in steel ball kind of way, right? They're elastic in storage kind of way, rubber ball kind of way. So, if you do a pure experiment with the heavy thing and the small thing, and it's elastic as in hard elastic, you won't get the extra speed. But if it's at all rubbery elastic, you're really storing a bunch of energy in the compression of the material, and that compression will go in both, it'll try to go in both directions. It obviously can't go in the heavy mass direction, so it all goes in the light mass direction. Let's see, is there a way for you to enlarge the text for you to read more? Easy. Yeah, but then I would actually have to look at it and see it. No, I don't want to do that. But yeah, I suppose it's not really doable. I don't know, it's in this little window, and somehow this little window doesn't seem to have the usual features. But let's see, I'll try Control Plus and see what it does. Yeah, that's bigger. Yeah, it's annoying though. I like screwing it up, frankly. It's part of the fun. Actually reading what you people actually type is sometimes so much less interesting than how I read it to be. It's a huge compromise in the functionality of the video, to actually, he's going to read what they're actually typing. That's probably going to suck. All right, so anyway. Control Z and scroll. Yeah, I haven't tried that, but yeah, I don't think I'll risk it. Some other day when I feel brave, I'll try the Control Z and scroll option. Control Z used to be paste, didn't it? Control V is paste. Yeah, I guess it's Control V. Gee, I don't remember. That's, the little stuff. I mean, I do it all the time and I don't remember it. And I do it all the time. It is funny. Do you expect any other video responses? Well, I'm sure the ING guy is thinking of some other way of doing his wacky experiment. I'm sure the Dispar guy is thinking of some sort of wacky experiment. So, will they ever do the experiments I actually suggest? No. Will they always try to make the experiment to come out the shitty way they want it to? Yes. So that's what it looks like anyway. I mean, again, I never suggested these half-lever catapult things. I never suggested doing catapults. I didn't say catapults feel the same. I didn't do any of that. So it's just, fuck. Yeah, well, I figured it was something else. Control Z. I thought it was already used for something. Yeah, so I'm glad I didn't hit that. Control Z and scroll would have been undo everything I ever typed or everything on the computer, right? Control Z and scroll. It's like some bomb that'll blow up your computer. So, yeah, I did plan on doing more in this video. I just, ran out of enthusiasm. I do have my old lever set up again with the magnets, and it's really quite nice. I like watching it. And it's hard to video where it is, so I didn't video it. But I did do the oscillate it with the two masses in close, and then oscillate it with the single mass and the two mass, and it came out like 6 and 7 in terms of the number of oscillations per period of time, because I didn't do anything. I didn't have a quick release. I didn't even have an incredibly consistent release. I just approximated the release. But it's really close to being, it's about this, Well, anyway, it certainly didn't give me any panic or worry in terms of coming out anything like their experiments. So I'm feeling quite confident. But I really want to do the horizontal lever thing. So I'll make a horizontal lever, like Brozo did, except mine will be free moving. And then I'll just put the consistent energy source in, okay, and then do the flinging from the two positions. But I'll also going to do the strict 10-ton train, 10 mass going 5 velocity, and convert it into the 5 mass going 10 velocity. And once I've done that experiment, I can declare by the kinetic energy formula there is free energy in the universe, and it's really easy to create. Okay, then I can tell everybody, buy one of these levers. Brozo recommends it, because it works. It's free energy. I feel like you can make a good lever by using a vacuum switch. Oh, that doesn't sound easy. To vacuum object enough to vacuum an object enough to show the force when it hits the surface. Oh, I can't really understand what that is, sorry. I mean, the good thing about pendulums is they're guaranteed to give you the velocities you want, pretty much. I mean, you can't really fuck up a pendulum. So if you use a pendulum to move the masses, you can pretty much guarantee that you have something moving twice the speed. And, so that's all I really have to do. I mean, you can just, so if you're flinging the thing back, there's no mechanical friction except the pendulum's fulcrum. You're pretty much guaranteed, okay, to be able to see that you've converted something with half the velocity into something with twice the velocity. And again, once I do that, I will prove there's free energy. Yeah. Physics, it will be proven that conventional physics says there's free energy. In a sense, the experiment that Toadie's doing will kind of do that. But the trick is the conversion. I'm just concerned that it might not take the energy from the two mass. Enough of it might not get into the single mass to make the point, but it should. Well, we'll see. Just think of ways to conduct experiments. Yes, it's good to keep thinking. Ideally, like I said, I probably should invest in a strobe. I just have to find a good, cheap, used strobe or something, because that gives you such a reliable frame to count, and that's the best way to verify a velocity. But like I said, the pendulum gives you sort of a guaranteed velocity, so if you stick with pendulums, it should be okay. I mean, I suppose I could make the mechanism, I could tie strings to a balance and then have the springs go to a lever, and, or even without the lever. I have to think about that. I could have the motion this way converted into motion up and down fairly easily. But yeah, it just seems like those would all be ways of losing the energy. So it might look interesting, but yeah, probably wouldn't be worth doing. The simple argument is if we do the pendulum experiment with a lever, right, and you just swing the half mass from 4 times the height above the lever, and you swing that one in. Now I want to do the opposite. Yeah, okay. So what I want to do is put the light half mass on the lever at the right location. Then I swing in at one distance. I swing in the 2 mass at 1/4 of the distance, and the 1 mass should leave going 4 times. That'll be really an easy to see experiment, right? Tiny distance dropped in by the heavy mass, big distance popped out by the light mass. I mean, that should be a kind of giveaway experiment. We are going to spend all of your money on after being harvesting free KE. Yeah. I should get really rich, right? Yeah, when I invent free energy, I'll be so insanely rich. I'll have the patent on free energy. I mean, just imagine. I'm surprised. There's probably a previous patent in the patent office somewhere, where somebody just says, "Well, levers make free energy," But I still think I'd win in court. But whatever. Yeah. It is funny. The irony of it. That physics argues there's no perpetual motion, no free energy, and it's just sitting right there in front of their own formula. I mean, it's just saying it. Just even the Professor Lewin experiment. So let's just understand, they believe in an experiment where, you have a closed box, and you put in 100 momentums in, okay, and you get 133 out going this way, and you get 33 going out this way, and they say that's not free energy. When how could the universe see it any other way? All the universe saw was you had 100. You put 100 into the magic box, and 133 pops out this way, and 33 pops out that way. How can the universe say that's only 100? I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, you could argue it'd be true in a spaceship, right? I mean, if you're going to push a spaceship, the 33 would undo 33 going that way, so those two would nullify each other. But a nullification isn't a nothing. It really is real movement. First you do this, and then you do that. So you really do use the energy. So it's not like they undo each other. They just oppose each other in what they do. So it's still not unenergy. I mean, it's still real energy in the universe, and those things will hit real things in the universe. I mean, if I have just 100 momentum, then you can understand all it can do is 100. It can only give 100 to the whole universe. But if I send 133 out this way and 33 this way, those things are going to hit other things and cause motion. You can't deny that. And the 33 going this way is going to hit other things and give them motion. How can you say it's only 100 when, no, it can't possibly be just 100, because it's going to make motions in all directions. When is Brozo going to post his new video? Or did he not mention? He mentioned as if he was going to do it, and then there was one comment I saw where he said something about, well, he's such an asshole, who cares if he has to wait, and blah, 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 some kind of line like that. Like he doesn't care when he posts it. So who knows? He complains that he has to edit it, and he has to do all this crap to it. He has to put all his crap in, and then he has to edit his crap out, and all this bullshit. He can't just post the experiment. He has to have it all constructed in his Brozosian speak. he has to turn it into a steaming pile of shit. He has to draw on it and, squeak his nose on it, and put his big shoes on it. He can't just leave it alone. So, who knows? It's like all his, he made all those claims about how he was going to debunk the Mythbusters video and show all of these flaws in the video. Never produced that video. Because frankly, the more you analyze it, the more it comes out looking pretty good, actually. I mean, they were even using, there was a kind of a funny little part I thought of, where they put the weight up, right? It's on an arm and they swing it up. And what happens is that they have the other weight, which is a solid hunk of steel, I think, okay, on top of it. It might weigh 5 pounds. And then they measure the clay, and the clay comes out to 2.7. And you kind of can understand that, well, he probably didn't make the original pieces of clay 2.7. He probably made them 3 inches, right? I mean, he probably made them a round number. So it's probably the weight pushing on the clay that has already crushed the clay a little bit. And so that's why it's starting off at 2.7. But they didn't even get that part. So it's just people. Alright, well, let's see what else is news. Not that I'm defending crushing clay. I mean, I think it would have been better if they had just used springs. Why complicate it? Especially if you got a high-speed camera, you can take a video of how much it compresses and all that stuff. Why not just use something compresses relatively consistently? That captures substantially all of the energy. Probably magnets are even better, frankly. It's just that they get so much more, they get so much stronger the more they compress that, you have to calculate that into that equation because, it gets harder and harder to get closer and closer. The more you compress it, the really harder and harder it gets to compress. So that doesn't really work. So that's another thing to think about is what's a perfectly evenly compressible substance. You're back to fluids again, frankly, because they're perfectly consistent in the sense you just make the outlet that the fluid has to go through a consistent size. But again, that's that back pressure gets higher and higher. As you go faster and faster, it gets harder and harder to push fluid through. So that doesn't work perfectly either. Yeah, it is something to think about. I mean, obviously, fire hoses work, so you can get an awful lot of water through a small opening. But I don't know if it's an even amount of pressure. Like for every increase in water pressure, do you get the same increase in volume? And you probably don't. Well, 1/2 mv squared does provide them with like I said, the entire all particle physics is based on it. So their measurement of the electron's mass is based on 1/2 mv squared. So the mass of the electron and proton are based on it, and then all the energies and all of their quark experiments and all those experiments are all based on that equation. And the argument I would make is that's why they have to invent all these fake particles. Is because every time they increase the speed of the particles, they increase the energy of the particles, and that means they have to account for where did the extra energy come from, because they believe in conservation of momentum. So then they're stuck saying, where did all this extra energy come from? So they have to invent things like neutrinos to be extra particles carrying away extra energy. Foamy clay. Yeah, well, foamy clay doesn't sound great, but who knows if it's really consistent in terms of its function. It's just say, I've made this argument about Brozo's experiments that I could make a cornstarch mixture and it'll do exactly the opposite. The faster thing will go less far in it and the slower thing will go further in it, because it has a complete bias against velocity. It gets rigid. As soon as something fast hits it, everything dries up and it hardens for an instant. And so it's kind of interesting that it does exactly the opposite, which some heat-dependent substance would be. So the faster you hit it, the hotter it gets, the easier it gets to move through it. That kind of argument can be made. So yeah, it's an interesting dilemma, coming up with a simple way to measure absolute energy. Generators are pretty consistent. I mean, they have pretty high losses, 20%, but they're consistent, in the sense that, yes, twice the speed is twice the electricity. So they would be it would be good if you can make the experiment big enough that you could generate wattage and then measure the wattage. Sort of goes back to Joules' original experiments. That was what he was really after, was that kind of experiment. And he just didn't have the ability to make that experiment, so he did the water tank one instead. Yeah, I just have to think which, like I said, bottom line is again, if I can create the 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour by using the energy of a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour, that'll be a pretty decisive proof. So I have to keep my brain on that and not worry so much about trying to measure the absolute energy. I just have to create the light thing going fast with the slow thing going, the heavy thing going slow, and I'll have my proof. Yeah, well, I don't think anybody's going to want to be messing with paint. I'll fill a Dixie cup with paint and seal the top and stick a hose in the side. And no, I don't think anybody's going to want to do that. But it's sort of what clay is. I mean, clay in a way is little particles in a liquid suspension, sort of. And that's sort of how it behaves. So, in some ways it's a fluid. Maybe you've seen those magnets that levitate. Yeah, well, that's a whole different subject. But when you mention springs, that comes to mind. So the lever is going to approximate an elastic collision. A hard elastic, not a springy elastic, but a hard elastic. So it's going to do what the Newton's cradle can't do. Newton's cradle can't convert the energy from a light object into a heavy object or a heavy object into a light object. It fails to give all of its energy, transfer all of its energy. But the lever can. So it's a huge advantage because the lever can convert the slow deceleration of one object into the fast acceleration of another object, or vice versa. It can take the fast deceleration and convert it into a slow acceleration. So yes, levers are brilliant. I mean, I've been talking about it for 2 years, but that's the experiment. In my opinion, the lever already proves it It's just a matter of getting people to make a really good lever experiment. I mean, I already showed the lever oscillating perfectly, with a 1 mass 4 times the distance, and then a 4 mass 1 distance. And it oscillates perfectly, and the only way it could oscillate perfectly is it has to transfer all the energy from one object to the other object, right? I mean, you do in fact create the quarter mass moving 4 times the speed, and the 4 mass moving 1/4 the speed. You create it. And so if you just gave them enough speed to launch, you'd say there's no reason that if I gave them a little tiny bit of extra velocity, the 1 mass would leave at 4 times the velocity, and the 4 mass would leave at 1/4 the velocity. And so I'd prove the point. Like I said, Brozo did the experiment, so he already did it for us. And yes, it was a little bit off, but it was very close to 2 to 1. Exactly what I would predict. And so we just need that experiment done a little tiny bit better. I mean, the same spring compression creates the same weight. The weight is merely a description of its momentum. Momentum is a measure of weight. And that's it. Well, that's the other part they should have, right? It's not only having an experiment that proves it, but you usually want a lot of experiments to prove it, right? So all they had was the clay experiment, dropping round objects into clay. So for 200 years, that's all they had. They couldn't point to any other experiment to defend kinetic energy. And isn't that amazing? That they didn't force there to be confirmation. And that's one of those, that's the scientific method, isn't it? Isn't it to find confirming data from other experiments, confirming the other experiment? Where are those confirmations? The irony is now is they confirm by, how many mathematical problems does the fake thing we create fix? So like dark energy, they're using these as confirming examples of why dark energy must exist, because it not only fixed this broken equation, it fixed this broken equation and this broken equation. So all their math that didn't work, it miraculously fixes all the broken math. So if you have some broken math somewhere, dark matter is the solution, because it obviously always works. And always works because it's essentially a wild card. It could be anything you want it to be. It could be a jack, a 10, a deuce, a 6. It could be anything. You can make it into anything you want. It's just, I'm sure if people accept the existence of the invisible man, I'm sure as a lawyer, I could go into any trial and convince the jury that the invisible man did it. All the evidence points right at it. Yeah, a glass house armed with giant mudslinging, bombs they can throw at anybody who dares to make a face in the window. So it would only be a glass house if physicists had integrity and they could be embarrassed. Then it would be a glass house, right? But they can't be embarrassed. It doesn't matter how micro their penis is. They'll stick it up to the window. Proudly. They're so deluded. That's a good analogy. I like that. It's a great metaphor. It's so dickless. Physics is just so covered in you know, just dickless propagandists. How dare you not believe in our Jesus? How dare you? So I am trying to get into the mood to build something. I really don't want to do it. There's got to be somebody else who likes to build things. It's funny how much I just don't like doing stuff I used to like to do. I just don't like doing it anymore. It's like I hate working on cars, and I used to like it. But now somebody shows up with a car that's broken, and I'm like, just put more fluid in it. Do something. Just kick it. Kick the tire there. I've done my job. Just, I guess I'm getting to the point where I'm getting really risk averse. And every time you touch something, it breaks or something else goes wrong or the bolt snaps or some kind of crap. And it's like, oh, I just don't want monstrous headaches. It's like I want to just stay out of trouble. And it's really hard to do. It's like trouble is everywhere. It's like that with even, as you get older, your balance gets worse, things are a little bit off, and I find myself, tripping on stuff. I used to be able to, walk around a bunch of crap and shit, and, and it's, I notice there's a few times now, it's like a couple of times a week anyway, it happens where, I get, it's not that I fall down, but it's like I could have fallen down kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you can't get away with that shit. So you just know you got to do whatever you're doing, you got to change it because, you just can't expose yourself to that risk. It's really irritating. But, relative to what? So I shouldn't complain, like I keep saying. I don't have much right to complain. I still do it, but I don't have much right. Because things could be a lot worse. Yeah, I hate that I have to do that. That's the game you play. Oh, yeah, well, things could be worse. But it is a truth. Just like the starving Chinaman, it just happens to be true. There are people on Earth who would eat your garbage if you would deliver it to them. Righty, let's see how long we've been here. And such. And a little low on participation. See what the numbers say. Where the hell are the numbers? That should be it. Whoa, what the hell was that? I don't know, it made the screen bigger. It's funny, I increased the text size on the little comment window, and so then it changed the text size on all the other windows. I mean, that's just so annoying. These fucking... Ooh, I just made a big mistake there. Whoa. Yeah, I think I just interrupted the stream. That's funny. Well, if I did, my bad. But whoever suggested increasing the text, it was really your fault. Because to hit the minus button, it's right next to the reload button, and I ended up hitting the wrong button and fucked up. But it looks like it's saying the same 12 viewers are here. So, yeah, well, I didn't really leave. It's funny. Off topic, but what are your thoughts on the U.S. currency being devalued potentially? Well, I'm just saying it won't be devalued till all the borrowed money comes due. So as long as they keep the money in the Federal Reserve, that is all the borrowed money, and they don't print more cash, it won't be devalued. So again, all this threat that the U.S. currency is being devalued, yes, they're printing more than they should be. I won't say they're not, okay, but they're printing at a rate of 3% inflation, not 30% inflation. But the borrowed money is the problem. So that's the big evil sitting out there waiting to blow up. There's no FDIC insurance, so they've used all that up. Okay, they've insured $7 trillion in junk bonds, and they only have $100 billion in the insurance fund. So obviously that's not going to work when the crisis happens. So all the people who think their money is safe, it's really not, because the government won't be able to give it to you. You'll get some piece of paper that says come back in 30 days, and then you'll go back in 30 days, and they'll say come back in 30 days. But as soon as they start printing the money, then you know you're doomed. Then it's hyperinflation, and everybody's fucked. Okay, so the stream is still there. Good. Do you have the right to take TikTok from us? Do they have the right? I frankly, I don't know what all the issues are, but I don't like the contrivance videos, frankly. Okay, so there's a lot of fake news, being created, and I don't like it, because it works. Okay, fake videos work. So that, I think, is a problem. I think it does, incite the jackass syndrome. Like, people start eating their own poo because somebody wants to see somebody eat their own poo, and they'll pay them to do it. So I guess it just depends on how much you think something should be regulated, and whether it needs to be. And I would argue that, that humans need to be in a zoo. They need to be in a controlled environment. So, but I don't know what to say. I have no interest. I have no horse in that race. I'm more concerned about Google. I'm more concerned the internet's not being indexed fairly or properly. That bothers me a lot more than somebody saying TikTok is bad. And again, I don't even know why. I don't know what. I haven't paid any attention. I mean, I know they were doing some congressional hearing about something, but I don't know what the fuck it was about. I forget. Yeah, I forget what it was about. So it wasn't very important to me, I guess. I'm not generally speaking for censorship. So yes, if people voluntarily go someplace, that's their business. But the whole way that all this stuff is networked and connected, I don't like. So, I don't like that I'm forced to, every now and then I get thrown into Facebook. I get thrown into one of these other shitholes. I don't like it. I should be able to do the internet with a button that says I don't want to see any of this shit. So I should be able to have a no thank you button. And once I hit it, then all that crap is not part of the internet for me. I mean, they can make numerous internets, They don't have to have just one. They can make, that's what the whole .com, .org, all that stuff was supposed to be, is to create a distinction so you could navigate in one internet and you didn't have to look at the other stinky net. So, they really should be able to provide that option where you opt in or you opt out of CrapperNet. you know, so I mean, people have to have a confirmed email address. People have to confirm, confirmed identity. I want to be on the confirmed identity internet, not where they give away your name, but where it's confirmed that you are who you are, and you're responsible for what you type. Ultimately, you can be held responsible. That's the whole concept. You can be held responsible. I don't want to be on an internet full of people who are hiding. Alright, so I guess my pop-up window is broken now. Let's look. No, it's still working too. Well, that's funny. So both of them are still working? Let's see. Yeah, it appears they're both working. Alright. Well, that's an interesting trick. So if you reload the live stream page, then you can have both chats open. Alright, if the DNA molecule could be said to have a personality, how would you describe it? Oh, well, I don't want to do this. It has a personality. It's what could you argue? I mean, it's kind of incredibly precise, and yet it makes mistakes, right? So it's this incredibly, it's doing this incredible copying thing, and a tiny bit of dust gets into its gears and fucks it up. And so it's like panicking because it keeps fucking up. But I wouldn't describe it as having anything malicious in it, because it's just the genes that are evolving. It's just a piece of code that gives you an advantage in your demonstration models you send out. More of yours survive than theirs survive, and therefore. But the molecule doesn't have any, sorry, it doesn't have a personality. It's kind of silly to give it one. It's like saying if your pencil had a personality. What the fuck? I'm not going to do that. I just did it, but I should have said, I'm not going to do that. It's silly. Yeah, so I should have said that, but I didn't. Next time I'll say it's too silly. You have to say evolution is the process that's malicious. That's the child killer. So evolution is basically a psychotic Freddy's nightmare kind of psychotic lunatic that just kills and kills and kills 99% of the monsters. It just kills them. It just finds them in their nests and kills them. It kills them, kills them, kills them, kills them. And it calls it testing. I'm testing you. And the fact is, there's only 2 grades: live or die. And a lot of shit has to die fast. Has to get out of the way quickly. Alright, so another 10 minutes or so. I'll give you your chances, people. So it says there's only 13, which isn't great, but gotta buck up and take it. Yeah, this screen is still too big. So let's see if I can hit the right button. Minus. Yeah, that's the right one. I could even minus again, really. There, now I can see it. 12 and 13. So you can see that, right? Where it says 12 in one place and it says 13 in the other place. It's kind of weird. But anyway. And there's a chat rate. Oh dear, I have a 0 chat rate. Ooh. That can't be good. Damn. It's always something to fail at. Yeah, so now it converted the size of the text into chat. I mean, that's such an annoying... that shouldn't be a feature. Mozilla should know, why would I want you to change the size of every single fucking window? I just want you to change the size in this one I'm looking at. Why would you do it for every single window? That's stupid. Sometimes there's just a page, where they deliberately make the text insanely small and you just want to make it bigger, and that page. Why would I want it to change every fucking window? fucking stupid. So, anyway, I did find that I think Mozilla was really causing my Linux to crash, and I think it's a memory dump problem because somebody was nice enough to send me some memory chips, and so I have 16 gigabytes of memory, which I've never had in my life on a computer. It just seems huge, and the computer hasn't crashed, I don't think. I mean, I do a reboot on purpose sometimes, but it doesn't, hasn't crashed. The new problem is that sometimes it doesn't suspend. It's like after I do a live room, it fucks up the suspend function. So I have to close OBS before I suspend, or else it won't suspend. It'll go into whatever. It'll just say, fuck you, I'm neither on or off. I'll just stay in the neither on or off position. All right, well, I wasn't trying to keep you up. Just go to it. Yeah. Yes, well, physical labor is more, frankly, it's sometimes better than the stress-producing, having to think about it labor. So I like doing my manual labor, what I have of it, and, garden and this and that, just because it's really simple. So I prefer that. Yeah, well, I'm okay. I mean, I always have things to complain about. Back's never great, and different things aren't great, but, I'm quite in the middle. Not the best I've ever been, and not the worst I've ever been. Do you need some smoke money? I need money, but I don't, no. I mean, I'm trying not to buy cigarettes if I can evade it, so. Somebody sends me cigarettes usually, once a year or so, and it's very nice, but I should discourage the activity. Because, it's a crazy amount of money for a pack of, I just can't even, it's just, when you think about $10 for a pack of cigarettes, you're just like, what the fuck? Well, it's not quite 10, but pretty close. It's just undefendable. So I should just, like I said, I think I'm closer than I've ever been to, maybe being able to live without it, but we'll see. It's big talk from a many-time failure at quitting. I quit for like 5 hours once. Yeah. Not that I smoke. Well, it's good you don't. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's just so crazy. Crazy. In Canada, all you get are those little tiny cigarettes. I used to hate when we went on vacation, so I finally figured it out. Because we go on vacation in Canada, and, the cigarettes just sucked. And so I finally figured out to sneak a couple of cartons, into my belongings. It was, my parents didn't know I smoked, so it was a little tricky. All the hassle, all the games you have to play when you're, trying to secretly smoke. It was just such a hassle. You always have to make excuses. Oh, I gotta get some air. I got, it's always some excuse to take off somewhere and have your couple of hits. So, yeah, I got nothing, frankly, the whole weed thing is just whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it does anybody any good, you know what I mean? It doesn't enhance their performance in the long run at all. So whatever it helps you do, it probably impairs you in some other way that it probably isn't worth it. But that's just my opinion. It's an entertainment drug, and it should only be, it's like you go to the movies once a week or something. It's one of those kind of things. You should go to Weed City, once a week. But whatever. That's just my opinion. Don't mean nothing. No offense to the potheads. Yeah. Call you potheads, but whatever. I guess you could say, in some respects, it's not a smart man's drug. It's not highly associated with intellectualism. Can you debate some theists, please? No. I mean, I don't know. Can you find one that's worth debating? I mean, the people willing to talk about their faith are usually just players, you know what I mean? They're like the flat earthers who talk about their flat earth. So they're not really interested in their God, okay? They're not committed to the existence of a God. They just think religion is good for people. So they're just going to make some wacky argument about how religion makes people ethical or something, but that's all they think it's good for, is that they just want the world to behave the way they like people to behave. And they think religion is the way to go because people behave the way they like people to behave. It's like the abortion nuts. The abortion nuts don't give a shit about kids. That's so fucking obvious. They'll watch them starve to death and do nothing about it. They'll watch them be raised by just monkeys, frankly, okay, and not do anything about it. They don't give a fuck about kids. Their souls or any of this other crap. They just don't want people having comfortable sex. They want people to be worried about getting pregnant. So they don't have sex because they resent other people having sex because they don't have sex. Especially sex for fun. So it's just resentments, So what, I'm gonna debate some resentful moron defending the stupidest theory on earth. I think that's below my pay grade, so to speak. I should probably be using my brain to do something more than debate insincere kooks, defending, an obvious fable. I mean, most Christians haven't read the Bible, I mean, it's just, all you have to do is read some of that shit, and it's just like, what the fuck is this? This is God talking? He's a lunatic. What the fuck is this crap? Well, I'm sorry. Just think about some of the stories are just so stupid, right? Like the whole Noah gets drunk, his son sees his willy, and God punishes him for seeing Noah's penis. You explain that to me. Where's the great moral? Where's it showing just how brilliant God's ethical schema is? That this is a real thing. That it's somehow his son's fault that Noah got drunk. I mean, the whole giving all women pain in childbirth because Eve committed a sin, right? Because it was one woman who committed the sin, all women will now pay forever. Okay, they'll die in childbirth and do all this stuff because Eve was such a stupid cunt. I mean, how come God didn't have any all men shall be punished? How come we don't have any curses? I mean, I'm sure Adam committed some kind of crimes, right? He must have. Well, anyway, you can see, I think, why I shouldn't debate theists, because, you know, I'd have to interrupt all the time to laugh. Say, oh, fuck. What the hell? This planet is just too stupid. I have to take this nonsense story seriously? I mean, why? All right. I guess we've run out of proper physics conversation. So I will probably move along till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. And yeah. Let's see. Do you have any gripes with Sean Carroll? Yeah, I have lots of gripes. So I did offer him $3,000 also, and I did it more than once actually, and no response at all. Yeah, I mean, he's just jargon earring now, right? I mean, his new theory, what the hell was it? So he did this stupid multiverse thing, which is just such a dark matter, invisible man bullshit way of evading the problems with quantum mechanics, right? So, we fixed the measurement problem by saying every time there's a measurement, there's a new universe created. So that fixes the measurement problem, and that makes absolutely no sense because we're constantly measured by gravity. So that means in every second that trillions and trillions of universes are being created right here in this room, which is just too silly. But anyway, this new spiel was, I can't remember what it was, the new Book of Babel. But yeah, there's a lot not to like. I mean, I like his, generally speaking, he's personable and he speaks relatively quickly and he speaks well. He's very articulate. He ties concepts together fairly well, but it's all crap. He's nice to cats. You gotta like people who are nice to cats. But he is arrogant and pompous and patronizing and full of shit. What's the crap? I don't know what that means. So, I don't know what that is. The crap is entanglement. The crap is relativity theory. The crap is all of this bullshit that they talk about. All of this wacky verse they've created for which they have no real evidence of any of it. I mean, Sean Carroll, I played the video clip of him on Joe Rogan where he was talking about the two-slit experiment. I don't think he's actually even seen the damn thing. He's just heard about it. His knowledge was so gapingly putrid, in terms of describing it. He might as well be making a Dr. Quantum video. It was just crap. So that's what I mean by crap. Link me to the video where he's talking sense about something, where he's making some kind of sense, where he's not talking about some sort of abstract physical bullshit, where it has there's fourth dimensions and 10th dimensions and multiverses and, it's all crap. When does he talk about anything real in the physical, real world? Alright, so now I'm done, I guess. Okay, so till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. This has been draftphysics.com or debatephysics.com video presentation. And keep making videos until I don't have to make them anymore. Yeah. Oh, fuck, it's a life sentence. Damn it. I'm depressed myself.